welcome to the Y Channel. I'm Maddie Salomone. I'm an attorney, a former college athlete, and while I was in school, I was also the chair of the Division I Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Now, we've covered a lot of topics on this show related to college players, including court cases. And in this episode, we're going to discuss name, image, and likeness rights of college players. And we touched on this in the video that we did on O'Bannon v. NCAA, which I'll link to in this video. But in this video, we're going to focus on the NCAA rules that govern this issue and what that means for college players. But before I do, I want to put in a plug to please subscribe to the channel and like and share this video. It will help us grow and produce more content. With that said, let's dive into this issue. So for starters, athletes at the beginning of every season are required to sign a form known as a student athlete statement. And this is a requirement in the bylaws governing the NCAA. And failure to sign this form will result in the loss of an athlete's eligibility. This form essentially says that the athlete consents to follow all the rules, and it used to contain a release statement, which essentially enabled the NCAA to use the athlete's name and likeness for all of eternity for profit or for any reason, and prevented the athlete, him or herself, from ever benefiting from that. And that included that athlete's heirs after they died. Now, after O'Bannon, the NCAA stopped providing this release statement in the student athlete statement form that they had athletes sign. But what they did not do was eliminate a rule in the bylaw that technically an athlete still agrees to comply with. And that's because the athletes have already consented to follow all the rules. And within the rules is Rule 12.5.1.1.1. That rule is related to promotions involving NCAA championships, events, activities, or programs. Now, what's also interesting about this rule is that the next one down, 12.5.1.1.2, says the athlete's images may not be used for commercial purposes, but they may be used for educational or nonprofit activities. And essentially what that means is that the NCAA grants itself the ability to use athletes' names and images for profit, because part of the activities are the NCAA tournament, and they go to commercials, which end up drawing in fans and generating money. Now, you may be thinking, okay, so what's the big deal? The NCAA uses the names and images of college players to promote championships and bring in some money to cover its operating expenses. Well, number one, they make over $1 billion in revenue, and most of it comes from the men's basketball championship. Number two is that this is not the only way that the NCAA controls how a player may use their own name, image, and likeness. So I'm going to jump into Bylaw 12.4.4. And this is one talking about athlete self-employment. And what it says is that an athlete may establish his or her own business provided the student athlete's name, photograph, appearance, or athletics reputation are not used to promote the business. And basically what this means is that everyone on campus may profit off of the use of their own name, image, and likeness, except for college players. As an aside to this issue as well, there is an overarching theme that is extremely problematic within the NCAA, but has just sort of been accepted as the way things are done. And that is to say that the NCAA, by virtue of the fact that athletes are maybe given a scholarship, says, well, now we own you, and we own everything that you ever did. And what I mean by that is that athletes put in a ton of work prior to getting to college. They didn't just wake up one day and, were these athletes that were capable of playing at the Division I level or any other level. And the NCAA schools and conferences did absolutely nothing to invest money, time, effort whatsoever into the development of these athletes. and they're actually specifically prevented from doing so by the NCAA's rules. No other student on campus is in any way prohibited from using their own name, image, and likeness, or their reputation as a student, or anything that they did prior to college that was related to their field. If a student wants to write a book, start a YouTube channel, start their own business, they can use their name, image, and likeness, and they can talk about everything that they ever did. But athletes are prohibited from doing so. And when you combine Rule 12.4.4 with the preceding Rule 12.4.3, it is to say, athletes may work at camp, and the school can profit from the fact that a certain athlete might be working at that camp. But at the same time, athletes may not use their own reputations to run a camp of their own. Why should an athlete be prevented from running a camp if they're willing to put in the work? Just like, why should they be prevented from earning money off of a YouTube channel that they've invested all of their free time into building up? Now, in addition to these rules, the NCAA also weighs in when it comes to other employers and how they may compensate athletes. And what the NCAA says in Bylaw 12.4.1, compensation may be paid to a student athlete for work actually performed at a rate similar to other people in the same place. But the carve-out that does not apply to anyone but athletes is 12.4.1.1, related to athletics reputation. Unlike anybody else in the population, if an athlete is paid more because the athlete adds extra value to an employer compared to someone who hasn't built a valuable personal brand through hard work, the athlete may lose their eligibility. Another rule I'd like to look at is Bylaw 12.4.2, the fee for lesson instruction, in other words, coaching. And what the NCAA essentially says is that the athlete may coach, they can't use any of the institutional facilities and a few other things, but they may also not use their name, picture, or appearance to promote or advertise the availability of these coaching lessons. So essentially the NCAA is saying, well, yeah, athletes can coach, that's fine, but they can't really tell anyone that they offer coaching. This video really only scratches the surface of the rules that apply to athletes and allow the NCAA to virtually control how they live life during their time in college. But it's hopefully giving you a better understanding of why people are so up in arms about some of these issues related to athlete compensation. And that's because it's about so much more than just paying college players. It's the fact that not only are college players not compensated, except maybe up to the cost of attendance, most athletes are not getting full scholarships. And so most end up actually paying money to attend college. And all of their time is controlled by their sport. And so they have very little extra left over to have a job and also maintain their eligibility by doing their schoolwork in their free time when they're exhausted. So I'll leave this one here. Please check out our other videos, and we'll cover a lot more NCAA rules in other ones as well. And please, again, like this video, share it, and please subscribe to the channel. It does help. All right, bye.
This video may constitute attorney advertising. The ideas expressed in this video by Maddie, as well as any posted comments, are opinions intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as legal advice. Receipt of this information or using the YouTube platform or other social media platforms to contact the White Channel does not create an attorney-client relationship.